Praise the Lord, everybody. And I just want to welcome you to our Wednesday night Bible study. And on behalf of Victory Life Christian Center and our bishop on tonight, Bishop A.O. White, thank you so much for tuning in and to our Wednesday night Bible study. And I believe that it is going to be a life changing word in your life. I know that when I was reading these scriptures that I'm about to read to you, it was a life changing word for me. And sometimes we read the same scriptures over and over, and but then there's that time that you read something or you hear something, and all the lights come on, and you realize that this is exactly what I need to be doing. So, with that said, tonight, if you would turn in your Bibles to Nehemiah, the first chapter, and we will begin at the first verse. Nehemiah, the first chapter, beginning at the first verse. As we look at Nehemiah tonight, I want to just read a couple of chapters, a couple of verses to you. In the first verse, it says, "These are the words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. During the month of Chislev in Artaxerxes' 20th year as king, while I was in the fortress at Susa, one of my brothers, Hananiah, arrived with some men from Judah. I asked them about the Jews who had survived captivity and about Jerusalem. They told me those who survived captivity are in the province. They are enduring serious troubles and being insulted. The wall of Jerusalem has been broken down and its gates has been destroyed by fire." In the fourth verse, it says, "When I heard this, I sat down and cried. I mourned for days. I continued to fast and pray to the God of heaven." So here we have Nehemiah, and when you read the book of Nehemiah, you'll find out that Nehemiah was in jail. He was in prison, and he had been in prison for some time. Not only was he in prison, but he served as the king's cupbearer. So he was in the fortress, as he called it. And while he was in the fortress, he ran upon some of his brothers, and they told him that the wall of Jerusalem had been burned down. And when reading the scriptures, you find out that Nehemiah really loved his country. He loved Jerusalem. And when they told him that the wall had been torn down or had been burned up, he was so sad. And then he began to pray unto God and, for guidance. And he began to say, "Lord, forgive me for what I have done," and then just petitioning God about the walls of Jerusalem. And so as the story goes on, Nehemiah went to the king, to the one that was in charge of the prison, and he says to him, "I want to go back to Jerusalem, and if I have any favor in your sight, would you grant me my request?" Now, listen, if you listen to what Nehemiah is saying, and as you listen or look at your life, and if you were in prison and you had found out that Birmingham had been burned down, what would you do? Certainly, you would not go to the warden of the prison and say, "Would you let me out so I can go and build Birmingham back?" Some of us would try to stay as far away from Birmingham as we could. Not only that, we make up in our mind very, very quickly that I'm never going back to Birmingham again because it's been burned down and there is nothing there, so there's nothing for me to do. And so we would take a different approach. But Nehemiah loved Jerusalem. And so he vowed to himself that he would go back and build the wall back up. And the king gave him favor. He had favor on him, and he let him go and build the wall in Jerusalem. But he asked him, he said, "Now, how long are you going to be?" I just thought that was very important to look at, because now you can't stay gone forever. You have to come back. And so Nehemiah promised him that he would come back. And so the book of Nehemiah is just it's a very good lesson for us to learn about how he built the wall of Jerusalem, how he found favor with the king, and the king not only trusted him. Can you imagine? Some of you, if you were in prison and you go to the warden and you ask for favor, that you want to get out because you want to go back and see about your hometown, the warden would probably say, I think you crazy. You go right back to where you came from. No, because whatever you have done in the past, sometimes, they really hold that against you. And some people cannot find the favor with the warden, the judge, the attorney, nobody, because of sins of the past, the kind of lifestyle that you live. But in this case, Nehemiah had favor. And I really believe it was the favor of God that was on his life, because Nehemiah was under an assignment and he was obedient to the Spirit of the Lord that lived on the inside of him, because normally somebody in prison would not ask to go back. So, in the beginning of this particular Bible study, I want to talk about Nehemiah, and I want to talk to you about some things that we do. So, at the beginning of every year, we in years and years and years gone by, we always make New Year's resolutions. Well, at some point in time, and it's been some years ago, that we've decided, not only as a community, but I think that as America at large, that we're not going to make any more resolutions, because we never can keep the resolutions. And so we stop making them, because when we make resolutions, we decide that in this year, I am going to lose some weight. In this year, I am going to get out of debt. In this year, I'm going to get married. In this year, I'm going to be in contact with friends that I have not ever seen before. And as the year began, and as the year goes on and on, the weight's not lost. You may have lost a pound or two and picked up 3 or 4. And it just seems as though the goals that you set couldn't be attained. So I think that we just really need to go back and look at the resolutions that we have made at the past. And I really think that it's okay. Make some resolutions. To me, resolutions are just goals that you want to reach, something that you want to attain in your life. And some people, when they made their resolutions, the page would just be filled up with what I'm going to do, I'm going to do, I'm going to do. And the page is so full until you don't do anything. However, just make 1 or 2. When the new year comes in, and it's just not the new year at any time, decide within yourself that this is one thing that I'm going to do. These are 2 things that I'm going to accomplish this year. Set a goal for yourself, and then try with all the might and all the spiritual power in you to set the goal and then to attain the goal. So instead of goals like losing weight and getting married, there's some other things that I want us to consider as life-changing events for us to do. One of the things that we need to look at when we need to set a goal. When you recognize in your life that you need to make a resolution, you need to resolve some things that you want to do. Some of us have habits, smoking habits. Resolve, that this year I am going to stop smoking, or this year I'm going to stop drinking. I am going to stop taking drugs. I've got relationship problems. I've been dealing with relationship problems for a long time, and I am not happy in my relationship. So instead of going on with a miserable life, do something about it. Don't just stay in a situation because, you don't have anybody else, and, well, it's all I got right now, so I'm just going to stick with it. Sometimes your life would be so much happier if you resolve to do some things and you start taking steps to get those things done. We are never to be in a situation because we think that we can't do any better. You are the one that will make your life happy. So let's look at some of the things that you can do to make yourself happy and pick one or two, pray about it, and ask God, to help you attain your goal. And you all, especially in relationships, if you're caught up in a relationship and you're not happy with it, then you resolve to do something about it instead of letting it go on. So with that, I want us to look at Nehemiah, the 6th chapter, beginning at the first verse, and it says, Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and no gaps had been left in it. So here we find that Nehemiah has gone on to Jerusalem. And when he went to Jerusalem, he really didn't tell anybody what he was going to do. But Nehemiah had a plan and he had a goal in mind because he was very passionate about Jerusalem. And I'm telling you, when God puts something in you and you become passionate about the things of the Lord, then you will move to do something about it. And in verse 2, it says that then Sanballat and Geshem sent this message to me. And he said, let's meet in Hakkephirim on the plain of Ono, because they were planning to harm me. So Sanballat, he was the one that had all the favor with people. He was like the mayor or the governor or the president of the United States. He really could get things done. And what he said, it was done. So when Nehemiah began to start building the wall, they did not like it. Because, see, they could come in and out of Jerusalem anytime they got ready because there was no doors to the city. They could come in and out, they could sell and buy and do whatever they wanted to do, and there was nobody there to stop them. And so at once, Sanballat became an enemy to Nehemiah. And so Sanballat sends Nehemiah a message, and he says, let's meet. Have you ever had someone to approach you, and they didn't like you, and they were the enemy, and they all of a sudden they want to say, well, let's get together sometimes. And immediately you go, why you want to get together with me? I know you don't like me. I know that you've said things about me, and I already know that you plan to kill me. And sometimes in our day-to-day life situation, we don't look at it as people that are trying to kill you. What we look at it as if the harm that they can do to you, they can kill your spiritual aspect of your life. They can kill your reputation. They can put the word out on you that every time you walk in church, or every time you go to the grocery store, that people are looking at you funny because they put the word out that you're no good, and that just telling stories about you that you would never imagine that somebody would say. So Sanballat was the kind of person, he did not like Nehemiah, and the word had already gone out that Sanballat wanted to meet with him, and he wanted to kill him. Can you imagine being in such a predicament as Nehemiah was? Because all he wanted to do was rebuild the city. But so if Sanballat let him rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, then that hurt his pocket. Now, I know I keep asking this question, but have you ever seen people that intend to hurt you on purpose because you have stepped in their way and they cannot make the profits that they want to make? This is not a popular life, and sometimes people will find things or find ways to get in your way when you are trying to do the will of God. But let's go on. Nehemiah says, I know they want to harm me. In verse 3, Nehemiah says, I sent messengers to tell them, I am working on an important project and can't get away. why should the work stop while I leave to meet with you? I want to stop there and I want to go back to Nehemiah, the 6th chapter, and I want to read it to you out of the King James Version. So if we look at Nehemiah, the 6th chapter, and we'll begin at the first verse. Let's go ahead and begin at the 3rd verse. He says, "And I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease whilst I leave it and come down to you?" So Nehemiah says to him, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. And why should I stop doing what I'm doing and come down and meet with you? In other words, he's saying to Sanballat, he's saying, you don't even like me. So why are you telling me to stop what I'm doing and come down to meet with you? I mean, it's almost like Sanballat is saying, come down and let's have lunch. Come down and let's get together. You know, sometimes when people ask you to come out and have a good time with them, and you know that you're not a part of their social circle, and you begin to wonder, what do they want? Why are they asking me to come down and meet with them now? Especially them when I know they don't like me. So Nehemiah is saying, why should I stop what I'm doing and come down to meet with you? And I just want, the people, sanctified people, people in the church, it doesn't matter whether you're Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. It does not matter who you are. Sometimes we let other people get in our way, and we will stop what we're doing to go and help somebody else to see what they want and to help them work their plan. But let me tell you something. When God has put you on an assignment, you do not stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing and get off track to go help somebody else. When God said that your ministry is to rebuild Birmingham, your ministry is to rebuild Jerusalem, your ministry is to feed the hungry and to help the poor and to see about those that are in prison, that is what I call you to do. And while you are doing what God has called for you to do, and somebody sees what you're doing and the progress that you're making, they will stop you on purpose. You have got to have it in your mind and in your heart that when someone comes along with their plan to get you off track, you need to say to them, I am doing a great work and I will not come down. And it does not matter how insignificant what you're doing is in the eyes of somebody else. You are saying to yourself, to them, and to the God that has put the passion in you, you're saying, I am doing a work and I will not come down. And especially to meet with you. Why do you want to meet with me? But see, Nehemiah already knew that Sanballat wanted to kill him. So they wanted to meet with him and take him out to a place and kill him. And see, he knew that, and he knew not to stop what he was doing, because that would be the end of his life. And I just want to let you know, if you stop what God has commissioned you to, for what you're supposed to do, that if you stop doing the work of the Lord, it could be your ruin. It could very well be the end of your life. And if you look at it in those terms, you don't want what you're doing to be the end of your life, because you are doing a great work. And sometimes when you're doing a great work, you can't see what you're doing. And so you think what you're doing may be insignificant. But when God has put it in your heart to do what you're supposed to do, it's not insignificant. Even though it may seem little in your eyes or little in the sight of men. And so men standing on the outside looking in, they can see what you're doing and they can see the progress that you're making. And I'm telling you, people become jealous of what you're doing and jealous of your stand in the kingdom. But the kingdom is a mighty, mighty great work and a mighty big place. and it's big enough for everybody to have their part. So ask God to put, if you're the one that's hindering, ask God to put in your heart what it is that you're supposed to do in the kingdom. In the end of verse 4 says, the beginning, it says, they sent the same message to me 4 times. Listen, your enemy will not give up. They will keep coming and keep coming and keep coming until you change your mind. Nehemiah says they sent the same message 4 times. And I am so glad to read about Nehemiah because he sent the same answer back 4 times. And over, the answer did not change. But when people hammer away at us, we begin to become weak. We will change our minds and begin to do what they want us to do. But if God has given you something to do, just like Nehemiah, stay on the wall. Don't stop doing what God has commissioned you to do. And believe it or not, but people are out to get you, and they out to make you stop what you're doing, so what they're doing will become greater. They will kill your efforts in the kingdom of God. And the thing that you started to do, it will dwindle and dwindle away because you're not doing what God commissioned you to do. So I just commission each one of you to stay on the wall just like Nehemiah did and continue to do what he said. In verse 8, it says, I sent someone to tell him, none of your accusations are true. You are making them up of your own imagination. All they're trying to do is intimidate us. They thought we would give up and not finish the work. And in the end of that ninth verse, it says, but God made me strong. If you continue to stay on your wall, if you continue to do the work that God has commissioned you to do and not come off the wall, God will make you strong just like he did Nehemiah. And Nehemiah could resist the enemy. In verse 10, it says, one day I went to the home of Shemaiah. And it said Shemaiah was confined to his house. And he said, let's meet in the house of God, inside the temple, and close the temple doors. Some men are coming at night to kill you. In verse 11, it says, but I asked, should a man like me run away? Would a man like me go into the temple to save his life? He says, I will not go. So Nehemiah already knew that there was a plan for him, a plan to kill his life. And so he says, I'm not going to run away. I am going to stay on the wall, and I am going to finish the work that God has commissioned me to do. And that's the same thing that I'm trying to get you to see tonight, is that when you make a goal, stick with that goal, stay with it. Don't come down off the wall because they tried to intimidate you. Stay on your wall and do what God has commissioned you to do. The enemies of Israel requested an audience with Nehemiah, but he would not leave the work because the job was too important. He knew that their intentions were to distract him. They continued over and over again to tell Nehemiah to send for him and say, Nehemiah, come and meet with us. They even accused him of wanting to build a wall for his personal advancement. And how many times have you seen preachers and teachers and evangelists, people try to distract them and put rumors out on them? All they want is money. All they want is trying to have a big congregation and get lots of money. That is all they want to do. They want to do it for their personal advancement. But everybody is not out to do the same thing. They don't think about personal advancement. They think about building a community, building a city to be used by God. Nehemiah heard that the enemy expected him to get tired. They wanted him to get tired, but he prayed to God that God would strengthen his hands to complete the work. And he strengthened him, and the work was completed within 52 days. Do you know that there are things that happen in your life that if you don't complete it, like I said, it will ruin your life. It will be the end of you. If you don't take steps and stay on your wall to complete your task, it could be the end of your life. It could kill you. You need to stay with the task. If you made some resolutions, if you made some goals, Stick with them. Stay with your goals. You have no idea how the Lord will bless you. And when the enemy starts talking to you about you can't do it, you cannot have the business, you cannot accomplish what you set out to do. Everything that you set out to do, somebody is going to be against it. And somebody is going to talk about you and tell lies on you and put things out just like they did with Nehemiah that are absolutely not the truth. Your response to them is, I will not come down. I will not stop what God has put in my heart to do. Or whether it's a business or whether it's church or whether it's preaching or teaching, don't stop what you're doing. Keep going with what you're doing. You have to say to your own self, I'm not coming off the wall. I will not stop until I get it done. Make a decision to stay with it until the task is done, until it's over. Not only did Nehemiah build a wall with much opposition, the enemy was coming at him from every side. And believe me, it was not to help, but it was to destroy what he had come to do. And in the end, I'm almost through with our Bible study for tonight, but I just want to conclude with this. In the end, in those days of nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah, and Tobiah sent many letters back to them. Many in Judah had promised to support Tobias because he was the son-in-law of Shekinah, Arah's son. In addition, Tobias' son Johanan had married the daughter of Meshullam, Berekah's son. The nobles were singing Tobias' praise. This is the part that I want to get to. The nobles, the people of high nobility, was singing Tobias' praise. And remember, Tobiah and Sanballat, they were together, and they were against Nehemiah. So Nehemiah says, they were singing Tobias' praises to me and reporting to him what I said. Tobiah kept sending letters to intimidate me. So Tobias acted like he was with Nehemiah. He was trying to gain Nehemiah's confidence. And while Nehemiah is conferring with him, he would go back and tell the enemy what he said. In conclusion, have you ever been in the situation where you thought you had a trusted friend? Nehemiah knew the enemy. He knew Tobias was the enemy. But to us today, have you ever been in that situation when there was a person that you trusted and you confided in that person? Everything that you told that person, they would go back and tell your enemies. It's happened so many times at workplaces, in church, just in everyday life, in families, between husbands, between wives. And they will cause a great divide, a great breakup in a husband and wife relationship, and relationships in general. Such a great divide will come even in the church, the church house, because somebody that you trusted, that you confided in, went back and told the enemy, so that the enemy came against you with a great terror. And you began to lose everybody's confidence. The church split. Your husband left. The wife left. So many things happened. Your business declined because of your confidentiality that should not have been there. I want to admonish each one of you today. When God gives you an assignment, stay on the assignment. Don't stop. Don't give up. It is so alarming at the number of preachers in this day and time that gives up, that throw in the towel, that walk away because they did not stay on the wall and they did not finish what God had commissioned them to do. Never in my life have I seen preachers dying at the rate they are, committing suicide because they could not stay on the wall. People of God, stay on the wall. Don't stop doing what God has commissioned you to do. It is your responsibility to keep working and to keep working until God has said your assignment has been finished, until The wall is built and the door is in place. Nehemiah built that wall in 52 days because he had the strength of God behind him. The enemy came against him. The enemy got mad and wanted to kill him. But Nehemiah said, but the Lord made me strong. The Lord is here. He's in you to make you strong. When the enemy comes against you, keep working, keep going, because God intends for you to succeed. You will be a success and you will not be a failure if you keep doing the things that has been commissioned for you by the voice of God. I thank you so much for tuning in today to our Wednesday night Bible study. I really hope and pray that something was said to make you stay on your wall and not come down, to make you set your goals so that you will not stray from them, to do what God has commissioned you to do. Don't be afraid. Stay on your wall regardless of the enemy. You keep telling the enemy in his face, I have a work to do. I will not stop. I will not come down to see what you want. God bless you. Thank you. On behalf of Bishop A.L. White and the Victory Life Christian Center, have a good evening. Well, praise the Lord, everybody.